One of the biggest questions we get asked is, how do we plan our lives month by month when we don't even have a home? The honest answer is we plan less than you might think, but more than a lot of people expect. People assume traveling the world with kids is either complete chaos or very, very regimented and organized. But the reality is it's neither. It's kind of in between. This is how we plan our life month to month and why it actually works for us. Hi, we're the Real Travel Family, an ordinary family who left the UK to travel the world and world school our 8-year-old son. So far we've been to Europe, Southeast Asia, Australia, and currently we're in India. We do it all on a budget, and this is where we share our experiences and resources so you can do the same. This video is for you if you are thinking about doing long-term travel yourself, but you're not really sure where to begin and you're not sure how to plan it. You like a bit of flexibility, but you also need a little bit of structure in your life. And maybe if you're thinking about doing this long-term world schooling or world travel with your kids, you're feeling a bit overwhelmed with what you actually need to plan, what you actually need to organize in advance, pre-book, all of those things. And this hopefully is going to help you to see that it's a bit of a combination of pre-planning, structure, routine, and flexibility, adaptability, and, going with the flow. So we usually plan ahead about 1 to 3 months on the whole. Obviously it depends on what's going on, if we've got any world school hubs that we're planning to attend in the future, or if we've got anything we really need to be at. But normally 3 months is kind of the maximum because things change, plans change. We meet people along the way, or we just have to be a bit flexible. So we don't try to plan too far ahead. We definitely rarely plan more than 6 months to a year. I don't know what we're going to be doing this time next year. I have no idea where we're going to be, but that's okay because there are so many options available to us. We don't have to plan that far in advance. And I think if you're over planning, especially when you first start doing this, over planning can be really stressful. It can actually make you feel more overwhelmed than you need to be. So if you just look at the next, say, 3 months, even maybe 6 months, it feels more manageable and more doable than if you're looking at this time next year or the year after. That feels big and scary, and there's a lot to think about then. We do tend to think about things like world school hubs, visas, any big flights that we might do. So for example, if we're going from the UK to Australia, yes, we might plan that further in advance because that's a big, big trip. But if we're already in Southeast Asia, the decision about whether to stay in Thailand or go to Cambodia or Vietnam or wherever is more of a short-term thing. We don't lock in big plans, long-term plans for short-term trips. But we do know roughly where we want to be in 6 months or a year. We don't think about things like accommodation. We're very flexible with dates. So we might have a vague idea of we're going to go to Malaysia in March, but we don't necessarily have set dates for that until closer to the time when we need to start thinking about booking flights, and then we can start locking in days. So visas are often the biggest deciding factor about where we're going to be and when we're going to leave a certain place. Because obviously you need to pre-organise visas before you arrive, but also you have a set amount of time in each destination then. You know you're going to have to leave after a month or 60 days or 180 days like here in India. So that is often something that really sets our schedule. And for example, places like India, we're here for the long term, but we can do visa runs. So you can leave the country and come back. But if you're in another country, maybe you have to leave and be away for a certain amount of time. So visas really do dictate our schedule and where we're going to be and how long we're going to be there. Obviously, another really important aspect that dictates our schedule and what we do is the weather and the climate. So, for example, here in India, this is the high season. This is the tourist season. It's beautiful weather here at the moment. It's like 30 degrees every day and sunny every day. But come April, May time, it starts getting too hot, the tourist season ends, and then you have the monsoon. So very few people are going to be here for the monsoon. Everything shuts down. There's nothing to do. There's no tourists around. The bars and everything close. People leave. Why would you want to be here? Plus, it's going to be wet. So the weather always dictates where we're going to be. And so that, that does affect our schedule, and it makes us plan further in advance. But having said that, don't chase perfect weather, because, we've had some amazing experiences in places that have been off season. Like Hoi An last year, we went there and it was rainy, it was cold, but we had the best time. Just had to buy different clothing. And we've also, obviously you don't know what the weather's going to be like in a country. Just because it's summer or the high season doesn't mean the weather's going to be like this. It might be a particularly wet year or cold for some reason, just so we don't travel just because of what the weather should be, but we do look at it, especially places like Asia, where there is monsoon seasons and rainy seasons and hot seasons. You don't want to be somewhere where it's 40 degrees and horrible and you can't cope and your kids are sweating and hating every minute. Also, you don't want to be somewhere in the rainy season where you can't go out. So another deciding factor for us is budget. We do travel on a budget, and we don't want to spend a fortune in places we don't need to. So this is why we're spending a lot of time here in Asia. In India it's so cheap. It's costing us next to nothing to live here compared to UK. Other countries in Asia are a bit more expensive, but still dirt cheap compared to UK. Obviously, if you go to Australia, if you go to maybe Japan or America, the prices are going to be higher, so you have to take that into account, into your budget, but also into how much time you can spend there, realistically. And then, like I said before, world school hubs are really important. So we do research what is available in an area that we're thinking of. So if we're, for example, thinking of going to Thailand, we would research different areas of Thailand. The best place to look for me is Facebook. Facebook groups are incredible. So I just put in World School Hub Thailand, for example, or World School Hub Krabi or Chiang Mai, and you just get loads and loads and loads of groups and comments and people who are either there on the ground and you can speak to them, or there's groups and you can join the groups and you can see what's going on. And of course there are the structured formal world school hubs which are everywhere, and again I normally find them on Facebook as well. And sometimes we use those, sometimes we just travel and we don't actually enroll in a formal hub. Both works for us. Obviously, everyone's different. Some people really like the formal hubs for the support and the schooling side of it as well, and the community. We have found actually that some of the informal meetups are actually way more fun, way easier, way more relaxed, and normally free or at least cheap. So that really helps too. But yeah, we always look at the World School hubs or the World School communities in that area that we're planning to go. And that does also affect where we're going to go next. And finally, I think the other thing is energy levels. Our energy levels, Jai's energy levels. If we have been rushing around from place to place, city to city, flying, doing all the things, we just want to stay still for a while. So that might make us make the decision to base ourselves somewhere for a month or even longer. We've done a lot of traveling in the last 12 months, and that's why we've decided to base ourselves here in Goa we've been here for 3 months. We're going to be here for another 2 or 3 months. And it's been really helpful. And I think having that, being able to build that into your plan, having the flexibility to adapt and know that you need to maybe slow down is really, really, really important. So that's something that does influence what we choose to do, but also having the flexibility to say, you know what, we're not going to fly here. We're not going to do all of this stuff. We're actually going to just stop for a bit. So some things we don't plan at all. We really just do what we feel like doing at the time. So the first thing I would say is daily routines. What we do day to day changes all the time. Obviously, if Jai's in a World School hub and he has to be there at 9 a.m. or 10 a.m., then that will, be a routine that we're in. But other than that, to be honest, we just do what we feel we want to do each day. If we feel to coming to the beach, we'll do that. If we don't want to get up till 10 a.m., that's fine. If we have late bedtimes, that's okay. That is a really that is our most flexible thing, I think, the day-to-day routines. We don't have one. And that's really nice. We also don't plan long-term accommodation in advance. So if we know we're going to be going to a new place, what I tend to do is I normally book a night or two's accommodation to start with, or maybe a week if we're going to be there for a while. And that gives us a chance to land, sleep, if it's been an overnight flight or anything, regroup in the morning, and then start to put the feelers out for cheaper, longer term accommodation. So if you book something on booking.com or Airbnb, chances are you're paying higher rates than you would if you actually found somewhere when you're there at the location. So for us, it's just about that first few days, knowing that we're going to land and we're going to have somewhere to go and dump our bags, and then explore and find somewhere. So we don't book long-term accommodation. We also don't have detailed itineraries of each place. So we go somewhere, I research somewhere and see what's around, what's good for Jai to do, what's good for us to do, places to visit, tourist attractions, but we don't have detailed itineraries of, on Monday we're going to do this, on Tuesday we're going to go here, and on Thursday we're going to go. It's not how we travel. We like to sort of travel, we meet other people. If friends that we meet are going to go to visit a temple, then maybe we'll go with them. It's about flexibility, I think, at the end of the day. There's no point being too rigid, because otherwise if you're long-term traveling, being too rigid is too stressful, I think. I think the more relaxed and flexible and adaptable you can be, the more fun you and your kids are going to have. So how do we avoid burnout? Because burnout is a real thing when you're traveling long-term, for kids and yourself. And I think the most important thing is to have that flexibility, to stay somewhere for longer. If it feels like a good place, if you feel settled and relaxed and at home and at ease and everything is just going well, why not stay longer? Why not extend your stay if you can, obviously, depending on your visa. And that's one of the reasons we've been here for so long, because we've made a really lovely community of friends. We all feel very safe. We feel very happy here. We've got a nice place to stay. So we're just staying, because I think that it's better to do that sometimes than constantly moving and constantly traveling and constantly exploring somewhere new. And it's quite exhausting traveling. Sometimes you just need a base and to slow down. And I think also being able to recognize the difference between travel fatigue and just being exhausted through traveling too much and moving around too much and all that comes along with that, the cultures, the food, the heat, all of those things, and actually being really emotionally drained, because we do miss home sometimes. We do have, bad days when we're not getting on so well. We do have, ups and downs and challenges, as families do everywhere around the world, even in the UK. And I think knowing the difference between just being exhausted because you're traveling a lot and being actually emotionally burnt out and needing to rest and needing to deal with something, that's a really important distinction to make, because then you can deal with that rather than the wrong thing. So we definitely schedule in rest weeks or rest months into our travel, rather than constantly moving. So a rest period for us might look like just simply being in one place for a long time. It might be doing nothing at all for a week, so no schooling, no sightseeing, and literally just going to the beach, going for dinner, and just relaxing, being on holiday, if you like. But I truly believe that slowing down with your travel, if you can, is one of the most important things you can do to support your nervous system, support your child's nervous system, and to make this long-term travel not just possible, but actually fun and sustainable. So how do you make this possible? What's the mindset shift around this? To start with, it depends on your personality. For me, being flexible and adaptable is quite natural. I'm not someone to plan long-term. I'm not someone to sort of get caught up in the details of things and overly plan stuff. So it's not too difficult for me, but I know for some people that's a really difficult challenge, just actually being able to step back and letting go of the need to control everything and be totally organised and have that detailed itinerary. So I would say start by planning for options rather than having definite plans. So give yourself lots of different options that you could do. So maybe if you're going to arrive in a destination and there's all of these, amazing tourist sightseeing things to do, why don't you write them all down and go, okay, these are the things we'd like to do, but we don't have to do everything. Let's kind of cut out the things that are repetitive. If there's lots and lots of temples, maybe just go and see one or two. Reduce the amount of planning you do, reduce your itinerary, make it simple, and let go of the idea that that you have to map out every single step and every single detail. Let go of that need to manage everything, because one of the beauties, I think, of long-term travel is, that you can't control everything, and that flexibility is so important, because you meet people along the way and you make new friends and they say, hey, we're going to go to this place, it looks amazing. Do you want to come? And you can go, yeah, of course, that's great. We can go and spend a few days in this different town or at this different beach, rather than being so rigid in your schedule that you don't have time for those experiences and moments that make travel what it is. And trust yourself, trust your children. You are adaptable. You can do this. You can, wake up in the morning and go, hey, what are we going to do today? Or make the decision as a family that you're not going to go and visit another country. You're actually going to spend more time in the country that you're in. Trust that you can adapt. Trust that you can go with the flow. Trust that you can allow changes to happen. And that's good, that's okay. Trust that you don't have to have every single step of the journey mapped out and planned out. I think the beauty of travel is that, you don't know what to expect. It's the fact that you can meet new people, the fact that you can visit new places, the fact that you can hear about something that you didn't know about, and you can change your plans last minute and you can go and enjoy something totally new and totally different. When you're on holiday, you do have to have that sort of, schedule and itinerary, because you're away for a week or 2 weeks. You need to be, unless you're just going to go and relax in a hotel. If you actually want to sightsee, you do need to plan things. When you're traveling long term, you just don't, because what is there at the moment is still going to be there next week. You can put things off, you can adapt, you can let life happen a bit more. If you're curious about long-term travel, slow travel, family travel, world schooling, any of the above topics that I've been talking about, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel. This is where I share the real-life experiences of world travel with my kids, of world schooling, the logistics, the doubts, the fears, the realities of leaving the UK and traveling the world, and the things that you don't see in the social media highlights reels. Thank you so much for joining me on this beautiful beach here at Rajbag, and I will see you next time.